Ever wonder what happens when investors varying from new to extremely experienced get together to talk about the ins and outs of the land investing? This is what happens every week on the land.mba Smartbar, our weekly community mastermind call. Today, as a special treat, we're going to let you inside one of our calls to experience a conversation that goes into some detail on specific land investing issues. If you're serious about land investing, you're definitely going to learn something you can use. And if you like what you hear, click the link below to get a free invite to a Smart Bar session. You can be a fly on the wall, soaking up the group's wisdom, or ask your own questions. For now, just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Unless you're driving, in which case, please pay attention to the road.
Summer's here. So happy June 21st, 2022. Welcome to tonight's Smart Bar. As I said, happy summer solstice, Lithia, whatever you celebrate. Summer is here officially, longest day of the year today. So I hope you guys got out to enjoy it some. Tonight, we have a full night planned talking about overcoming fear. That's going to be our mindset tonight. So what do you do to overcome that fear? Or are you having a hard time overcoming that fear? We want to hear both. We know that it can be a fearful time. I actually have a great example like today, talking to a new salesperson and just saying, don't be afraid to ask for that sale. Are you afraid to ask for the sale? So we are going to go ahead, or I'm going to go ahead, and we are going to open up the floor to Howard and Dave. Not sure who's going to take it tonight first, so I will leave it to them though tonight. And I hope you guys have a great evening. And yeah, here it goes.
Awesome.
Thanks,
So
Polly.
Dave, you've got the whole mindset presentation ready to go, right?
Thank
Oh,
you.
I guess I'll have to just sit in on this one. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Good to have you here, new people and old people alike. I put a meme up today on Facebook, and it just seemed to hit a nerve with a lot of people. I was really kind of surprised at the reaction it got. I wasn't expecting it.
I haven't been
And
on.
it said, it was just like a simple decision tree. And it said, I want to do this. And then on one thread, it said, I did it. And on the other side, it said, but I'm scared. And then below that, it said, do it scared. And people were sharing it and liking it. It was just, it definitely hit a nerve. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about fear. And it seems like I could overplay this because this is, so many people on this call are already so successful in this business. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care how successful anybody is. We're all always dealing with fear. Some of the most successful people in the world, you say, well, what drives them to work so hard and to just be so competitive and go after it? And even at, in their 50s and 60s, deep inside, we're still little children and they're still trying to prove themselves to daddy. And there's always something inside that's driving us. And fear and pain, these are things that truly drive us. So let me ask you a question. This is kind of open up, make it a little interactive. What do you think are the top fears that people have, according to the professionals, like say at Psychology Today or someplace like that? What do you think are the top fears?
Good question.
Success, number one.
Fear of success. Interesting. Okay.
Not being enough,
Yeah.
not being loved.
Okay. Not being, was the first one enough? Not being enough?
Enough, not being
Yep.
enough.
Not being
Yeah.
loved. Yeah.
Losing
Oh,
money.
looks like he's got something on the tip of his tongue. Oh, he's just eating. I'm not sure.
Yeah, financial insecurity.
Financial insecurity. Yep. Any others?
Self-account-
FOMO.
Fear of missing out. Okay. Yeah. Kushal?
Is it fear of public speaking?
There's always that one, It's like fear of public speaking. Just imagine everybody's in their underwear. Actually, so here's the actual list. According to Psychology Today, number one is fear of change.
Mm.
Number two is fear of loneliness. Number three, fear of failure. Number four, fear of rejection. Number five, fear of uncertainty. Number six, fear of something bad happening. Number seven, fear of getting hurt. This is a big one. Number eight, fear of being judged. 9, fear of inadequacy. And 10, fear of loss of freedom. Now, all the ones you gave are just as good. I'm not sure that, I would say that these are any better than the ones you gave. But these are all fears that we all deal with to some extent in our lives.
Mhm.
So I'm going to switch accent here to sound more like Mitch Milam. So I myself, when I was a young man, was not quite the stylish man of supreme self-confidence that you see before you today. And so when I was in high school, the idea of asking a girl out would just make me, put me in a cold sweat. My tongue would get dry and my heart would start palpitating. And that's a true story. It was hard, I was probably a late bloomer, but the thing is I did it. And I called it, you get that feeling of butterflies in your stomach, right? And the way I justified it to myself back then, and I still do it today, is I just came up with this term that said, I love the feeling of butterflies in my stomach. And that's how I got over it. So instead of being afraid of it, I embraced the fear as if it was a tool that I could use. And then I would ask her out, and then, then I'd have to have the fear of rejection, and then I had the reality of rejection, and it was, a whole different ball game, but every once in a while it worked. So the point is, how do you overcome the fear? Because no matter how successful we are, we're always at some inflection point. Maybe the inflection point you're in right now is, do I get into this business? Because I really don't know the business. I don't really know what I'm doing, and will I succeed? And, fear of failure and all that. Other people on this call have already been tremendously successful. But as you grow in your business, you hit these inflection points of, say, okay, now I've achieved sort of the newbie level of success, and now I want to get to the point where I can quit my job, or now I've quit my job, but now I want to get into the 7-figure club, or whatever it is. There's always that thing, and then you sort of have to ask, what is you afraid of? Or am I afraid of failing? Am I afraid of being judged if I don't succeed? Am I afraid of rejection? Whatever it is. So we have to deal with this.
A couple months ago, I pulled the trigger, not with a partner, not with anybody else, but it's a 30K property, right?
Mhm.
Going, wow, do I really want to, and that's kind of like, that's probably 10K more than I've ever spent before on a property. And that was a little nerve wracking. It's like, okay, well, it's there. I've got the comps are there. There's a nice 20K spread if I priced it right. So I pulled the trigger on it. It was a little nervous though.
In the past, we've talked about the difference between being an entrepreneur and being entrepreneurial. And the difference is your willingness to take risk.
And
So
I can add to that because I had the same fear, and I work almost exclusively with a capital partner now, and that kind of took away this exact fear. But on the flip side, I mean, because there is this net profit split, the needle doesn't move as much in terms of, it just takes more and more deals to essentially make it work and to get a higher total gross revenue.
yeah, but that's smart too, especially if you're not comfortable and it's not a space you've played in before. Limit the risk, have another set of eyeballs that's an experienced investor. Very smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if it's someone who is experienced and essentially who's going to underwrite the deal and they get a second set of eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
I actually have a fear, I have a couple of partners that they're totally passive and they just trust me and don't know jack about this business. And so I am almost more cautious using their money than using my own.
Yeah.
Just because I mean, yeah, I don't want to lose my money, but I would be like really, distraught if I lost these people's money. And so, you dot every I and cross every T, and you double check it once and twice and get a couple of realtors, opinions, and call up a couple of buddies and make sure, hey.
So
That's a
Ted,
really
not to,
interesting point, though, because there's this correlation, of course, between risk and reward. And, if you're not willing, so there's a certain amount of risk, especially if it's good judgment risk, educated risk that you take, then you can make a reward on it. But if you don't take any risk, you don't make any reward. And it's sort of like, it reminds me of the difference in a car chase between the cops and the robbers. The robbers always have the advantage because when they're careening down the street in their car and they drive up onto the sidewalk, they don't really care if they hurt anybody, but the cop does. So the cop has a higher sense of risk and therefore has to hold back more, and that's why they're at the disadvantage. So it's kind of the same thing here. Is you have this fear of letting down your investor, and that's perhaps even more so than the risk you might take if it was just letting yourself down. And so maybe that holds you back a little bit on a deal. It's fascinating.
I agree with David. When Ted said that, just in the last months, what I had to come up with, not land investors that are established, but family and friends. And I had to pull together more money than I, could have imagined. If I lose mine, what's the worst that can happen? I'm eating ramen. Oh, well, I did that in college. But, building that trust, that's what it's about. Building the trust in the people who, it's a lot of responsibility. That freaked me out a little bit, but.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is too, though, you have to also think about it. This is not a one-off with this guy or this gal or this family member. This is a relationship that you're building, and you're starting. Okay, there's one deal down.
Yeah.
We made them some money. We made me some money. We built some trust. Let's go on and do the next deal, the next deal. And then you get another person. Now you've built this network of investors who freaking love you because you keep making money. And they're like, when's the next deal? We want to keep throwing money at you. And then the next thing you know, you decide to get into big deals and do subdivides where you need a lot of private capital, and you've got this network of people built. And that's what it's all about. It's about building this long-term business. I went to a networking event today down in South Denver. It's an apartment investing thing, and I'm going to start going to more RIAs. I had stopped going to RIAs for years after I got into land and got out of houses, because it just didn't seem to be necessarily worth my time. But now going back to them as an experienced, successful land investor, you go back and even though this industry has grown and there's a lot more of us doing it, you go to a local RIA and you're like the only person there, or maybe if it's a big one, there's one or two more people that do it. But you go to some of these small meetup groups and you're like the only person. So anything related to land, people want to talk. I mean, I had everybody coming up to me at this event today, and I have 2 or 3 really nice business opportunities and about 3 or 4 people that want to invest with me. So anyway, sort of a sidetrack, but I think that it's really valuable to go to these RIAs and talk about how you do land. Opportunities pop up.
So Ted, not to one up you, but I've got a mailing that I have prepared. I sorted it by offer amount, and the first 15 records, the top amount is 340,000, and the 15th amount is 207.
Whoa!
So not to offend the ladies, but
Slow down, cowboy.
in my line of work, we call that a PP shrinker, which is why it's still sitting here for a month, because I'm like, okay.
Is it for big caribou deals?
Yeah.
Let her rip, baby. You got partners and funders.
I know. It's just again, like we're talking about, it's the fact that, my fingers doing this over the enter key. I'm like, am I really going to hit send? Really?
Do I need to come down there and beat your ass?
Yeah.
No.
I'm in the same boat. I just did the pro forma. I gotta get my quote back from my surveyor that I was that I've been looking at, and I kind of looking at saying, okay, so I'm gonna be coming up with 200 grand plus maybe a little bit of deferred agricultural tax, and yeah, the probably double up on the money, right? So my net profit after I pay realtor fee and a couple other things is maybe a couple $100 grand, but it's as my realtor said, it's hard when it comes time to write the check, when it's nut cutting time. Sometimes people aren't there to snip the checks.
Yeah. But 200 grand, that's like Thursday for Denise. I mean, I don't get it.
That's beer money for Denise.
Yeah,
It's
Denise
just the
is
Hansel
like,
and Gretel breadcrumbs.
You got to check your parachute and jump. That's it.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you guys who don't know Tom, I appreciate you being on the call tonight, Tom. I just spoke to Tom for the first time today, and Tom's got some really interesting experience because he's been a developer in New York City real estate. So he's sort of like, the junior Trump over there, I guess. And we all know how rough and tumble New York real estate is. So you probably have had more than a few situations where you've had to like deal with this kind of,
Well,
I'll just say it politely, fear.
yeah. Well, actually, I actually got involved with government work. I do develop real estate, but not on the Trump level, right? But I got involved with Hurricane Sandy recovery work, where the government was basically giving grants to homeowners, and we were doing lifting the homes out of the flood zones. And it was like I was 24 years old, and I had $60 million in work thrown at me. And how do we do it? How do we figure it out? And how do we bond it? How do we finance it? So I figured all that stuff out, and I made some really good connections in the beginning of my career right after college. And actually, I've been just, we finished the work in 2019, and we got involved. I was actually mentioned before, like I actually forgot that I got involved with land. We actually went down to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria to do the same sort of program. And we bought 5 lots, just, hey, the program's not going to start right away. And, we should just buy some lots. We can build on these lots while we're waiting for the program to get into full swing like it did in New York. So basically what ended up happening was COVID hit and everything got shut down. The city in the New York program was actually just completely a mess. And they weren't really, processing the final payments. So we're still dealing with those people. I mean, it's crazy. Like the city of New York is terrible. But and then Hurricane Maria, we were down in Puerto Rico. We had a partner down there, and we were developing these 5 lots, and it just turned out that it wasn't the right time to build, or it wasn't the right time to do anything. But a couple months went by, and we're like, shit. The real estate agents kept on calling us, like, yeah, you want to sell these lots? Like, sure, why not? So we actually doubled our money on the land itself. It was like, and I'll just never forget that moment. I realized that we made more money doing nothing than we on a percentage basis than doing anything that we've ever done in construction. It was just
Welcome to land.
yeah. I was like, yeah, we might have, ate some dirt here and there, but we should keep on doing this. Like what are we doing? Why are we doing sticks and bricks and dealing with the, the roofs and the leaks and the warranties and all this other, stuff that I've been. So that's why I'm here. And actually, I reached out to Howard. I had a tech call on the Price Boss. I'm trying to get my first mailer out. So that's how I ended up here. And I appreciate Howard for inviting me.
Nice. Nice.
But if you guys want to talk about sticks and bricks, I'm gonna send it to my project manager because I'm not dealing with that anymore. I'm just, I'm transferring out.
Anybody want to talk about any wins today that you've had in the last week or whatnot? And wins, when we talk about wins for the new people, it's describe, anything that you overcame, but did you do a great deal? Did you buy a great deal? Did you sell a great deal? Or did you finally figure out a piece of software? If anybody has anything.
Get a mailer out or whatever the next step in your journey is.
Yep.
So relative to the fear thing and kind of doing things you haven't done before. So I have this deal that I'm very optimistic about. I'm in it for 18.5, and the comps for these 40 acres are coming in between 80 and 135.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Trying not to be too excited about this, but so what I did, again, this will be my largest deal to date. And what I've done is hired a title company to do that abstract and title work for me initially. See that I can get clear title and actually buy the property without a science project, a probate science project. And even if I have to go through that for, I don't know, 3, 6, 9 months, whatever that might take, there's still so much spread, as I see it, that it would be worth that wait. So wait for that title search to come back, and with a little luck, it'll be clear. And at that point, I'm going to enlist an agent. And I've already interviewed a couple of agents in the area, and more than likely, I'm going to enlist one of those 2 agents to get into a conversation about, do we subdivide? What's the best exit strategy for this parcel? So again, first time I've kind of been tackling, something this size. And
How
anyway,
big is it? How big is it?
The acreage is 40. And I'm in it for 18.5, and my comps are between 80 and 135.
What state?
One of the agents said that,
and that's before you subdivide, right?
yeah.
What state? What state's it in?
Down southeast.
Well,
I'm new, so hey, southeast.
Yeah, if you need help on the subdivide thing, reach out to the group. Mitch has got some experience. I have a little bit of experience, but there's certainly some people who can help you if you want to subdivide it.
We hope you enjoyed this issue of the land.mba Smartbar, and we especially hope you learned something valuable. Remember, if you'd like to join us live for one of our Smartbar sessions, just click the link below. It's absolutely free, and you're sure to walk away with something you can use. You might even make some new land investing friends along the way.